look at the world as a designer's laboratory. I'm observing what people do and how they do it, and somehow being able to take that knowledge, bring that back to IIDA, and turn that into content that designers can use. Every human experience happens in a space that's been created by a designer. That's huge.
Please welcome to the stage the Executive Vice President and CEO of IIDA, Cheryl Durst.
Design, by its very nature, elevates.
I am not a designer, but I often speak about design. For so many people, they know they love design, they're not sure why. It's taking what is a little bit mysterious and making it real for people. Winston Churchill said, never speak to an audience who knows more about the subject than you do, and I do that all the time. Grew up in Toledo, Ohio. My dad taught at the University of Michigan. My mother was a microbiologist. I wore braces, glasses, and orthopedic shoes. I was just a semi-precious trifecta of dork is what it was. As a child, I was a profound stutterer. I loved words, but they didn't act right when they fell out of my mouth. But when I was writing, I became this other self that was confident and graceful. I honed my writing. So I spent my summers writing in corporate communications. I wrote about pickle tanks, and I worked for a hospital for 1 year. I had to dress up like a bear. But that sense of taking language and using words to influence and inform and inspire, and I find myself using influence, inform, and inspire when talking about IIDA. This is such an interesting moment in time, in design, to be talking about authenticity. It's an economic issue, it's a fair trade employment issue. Students invariably ask me, how did you get here? Right. It wasn't a succession of, I had a 5-year plan, because I've never had a 5-year plan. I said yes to a lot of things that retrospectively just made sense for me at that time.
Here we are. Ooh. Hi, Neil.
I knew Cheryl from Washington, D.C., from the Design Center. She was doing education and professional development. And I thought that's exactly what we need to reinvent a design association.
I said yes.
You said yes.
There was a decision to bring in an executive director of IIDA.
At that time, we were $1 million in debt, so we had no money. We had to go back out to our members. We know you've already paid your dues, but oops. Can you give us an extra $100? And they did. I learned the value of transparency and, again, telling the story.
It was a tough time in terms of the catharsis of the organization.
Right.
To turn that ship around isn't so easy, but we were relentless in the things that we were going to do.
And that's when we contrived the 3-word strategic plan for IIDA, which is knowledge, value, community.
We were really interested in raising the bar of interior design practice.
The relationship between IIDA and AIA, I can't say it really even existed. Or to me it didn't, because I wasn't friends with Cheryl yet. Design is such a collaborative process.
Right.
And I think that's finally being celebrated, not resisted.
On that corner limestone, that's where our name is.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Being in architecture, you know, we do interior design, but I wasn't engrossed in it, and I got back in it because of Cheryl. And then she requested that I be on a jury for IIDA.
That was one of those great projects, because I remember the jury having the discussion, where does architecture end and interior design begin? But it was less about that than the perfect blur of the two. I'm a firm believer in celebrating design. We are celebrating beautiful, effective, efficient design, as well as the people who are creating it, and the clients. We have 12 international design competitions. And then all of our chapters have their own programs. 40 weeks out of the year, I am not in Chicago.
I don't know how she does it. I see all of her posts, and she's traveling from city to city. She's making everybody feel important. She's listening, and she's spreading the gospel of design.
What projects have gotten an IIDA award?
The Chinatown branch of the Chicago Public Library is in this amazing neighborhood where it needed to be a community center. It's beautifully designed by SOM, and it has really transformed that community. The Gnadt Center was designed by Todd Heiser from Gensler, and again, it's become an incredible gathering place. We all know that design is people-centric, but I think this message of putting people first, particularly in community buildings, is one that resonates with the public. Every design community is incredibly different. That inconsistency a little bit in our profession, we call ourselves different things, and we started having the conversation in IIDA about having a research agenda and having a content agenda. Everything that we create needs to be beautiful.
Yeah, you need to communicate design, no matter what it is.
Always, and it's a point of pride.
Well, look at this, you guys.
Perspective has been around for 40 plus years. It is this really beautiful thought leadership piece that talks about the business of design. Having something tangible that is beautifully designed. I'm a paper junkie, so I always love to feel the paper. I'm always interested in what it...
I knew you were my kind of gal.
Yeah. We're moving. IIDA is growing and expanding.
In the mart, they've been kind of tucked away and you couldn't really meet them. Now they're actually given this amazing view of the city, and it also lets the entire community be a part of it.
If anyone ever told me that I would have a job for 20 years, I would have told them that they were crazy. Like, that's for old people.
But that's because it's rich and exciting and always changing.
And always changing. And there's always another challenge.
What makes Cheryl so special is that she has been sort of the backbone and really the spirit of building IIDA.
There are actually two words that come to mind. One is bold, and the other is audacious.
We all take it for granted in a way that she's there, but she's been the mastermind that has pulled all this together.
I don't know where designers would be without her leadership.
By celebrating design, when it's in the pages of a magazine or on the stage of a theater, we're telling our story. It's the story of society. It's the story of culture. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I love being the person to tell that story.
Hey everybody, this is Cindy Allen, Editor-in-Chief of Interior Design, and you've just watched a mini documentary that we filmed a few years back. And certainly a lot has happened to Cheryl since then, the IIDA, and the world. I am honored to share my good friend, the brilliant and beautiful Executive Vice President and CEO of IIDA, the one and only Cheryl Durst. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Cindy. How are you?
Oh, I'm good seeing you. What can I say? And you know, Cheryl, it's interesting. The documentary brought me back to when we inducted you into the Hall of Fame, and it's very telling and sort of right on the topic right now. Is that the entire industry of our profession was there, 1,500 people standing there cheering and honoring you as a leader. And it gives me chills just thinking about that.
It was an amazing moment, and it allowed me to use that platform to say some things, good things, but instructional things about our profession and about our community and about equity and about diversity and about the importance of what design needs to be aware of. And it was as relevant then as it really is now. That was an extraordinary moment. And, you know, you and I share that same belief that we can use our platforms, whether it's a magazine, whether it's an association, to uplift and invigorate and sometimes be a little instructional and sometimes nudge a little bit.
Definitely.
And tell our community sometimes what needs to be heard.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I mean, you just wrote a beautiful letter to the industry, and it was about those things: humanity, dignity, equity, justice.
Justice, yeah.
Yes, it just went out, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
it just went out. And it really was, and I think it's so important for us, particularly in this moment where people are agonizing, not just over the situation, but we all have an activist that lives inside of us. And I think some of the frustration that people are feeling, they want to do something, right? They want to be activists. They want to be the verb.
Yes.
So we want our community to be the verb, but people are frustrated because they don't know what to do. And they're reaching far and wide. And the purpose of that letter was to remind designers and the design community that the tools of activism are what you do every single day.
Exactly.
Design is an act of optimism and an act of activism. And the power of design to reveal and illuminate and elevate and dignify the human condition is more needed now than ever before.
Absolutely. And I think in many ways, we're just so lucky to be in a position to be able to communicate all of that to our industry, and also in a positive way, because you're like such a, you're such a positive leader in our industry. And I like to think I am too, but like, we believe in that.
Yeah. Somebody emailed me last night and said, how do you stay so positive about the state of the world and the state of the profession? Because we also know that right now in this moment, so many of our community are dealing with layoffs and looking for new jobs. And, all of this happens in the midst of a freaking pandemic. And in this industry, how can we not be optimistic?
Right. I think that's in our DNA, right? Our whole industry, it's in our DNA that we'll get beyond it, that we'll be better. And there was something really interesting that your dad, I guess your dad and your mom, it was in this speech that was so beautiful. And they were encouraging you as you grew up to always be better, not necessarily right and not necessarily righteous, but not like anybody else, to be better.
Right. And whatever your better is, find your better. Right. And, I think that's a lifelong journey.
And, Cheryl, like, I feel so much like love and respect and admiration for you. And, we kind of joke around that we're kind of like sisters, but you are going through something that's extraordinary. And yet you are a leader that can just be this beacon for people.
It's so, as we were looking at the letter and the words, right? We're in the business of words.
Right.
And how do we communicate this optimism? And the only lens I can communicate through is my lens as a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
I've been one all my life.
Yeah, exactly. Not going to change.
It's not going to change. I don't know how to be anything else. And it's that moment of sharing that with other people and not having it be a burden or anything traumatic or difficult. It's been interesting because people have been so wonderful and they reach out and, they're giving me virtual hugs and they're saying, oh, Cheryl, we feel for you. And it's like, I've lived an extraordinarily privileged life. Yet I've dealt with so many of the things. I've been diminished. I've been reduced. I've been called names. There are opportunities that I haven't been able to participate in because of the color of my skin. But you get up in the morning and you put one foot in front of the other and you continually try to be better and encourage those around you. And I wanted to find a way to send that message out, because it so applies to design. Design is a profession that has been diminished, has been reduced, is not looked at in always the best ways. And so the parallels between my life and the life that I lead as the CEO of this organization are so closely connected. And so this is heart and soul to me.
Absolutely. You know, and everything you're saying, it really touches me. And then there's like sort of the other side of maybe the work. An amazing project can be from anywhere in the world. And we want to always share that. So that's kind of our community that we feel so strongly about, right?
Right. We just celebrated the winners of our interior design competition, of which the magazine is our media partner for that. Right. And, a part of that competition is the Will Chain competition, which is for and celebrates firms of 5 or fewer. But in the entire interior design competition, it doesn't matter if you're a firm of 3 and in the Ukraine, or you're the world's largest design firm, with thousands of employees. It's about design excellence.
Right.
And it's always so energizing and gratifying to celebrate great design, to celebrate those great projects, but the teams that create those projects, because then they're creating those projects for people, for humanity, regardless of who is going to enter those projects, live in those projects, work in those projects. And that's, design has no barriers or boundaries.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I always like to say, it doesn't matter where it's from or who made it. It just has to be great design. But I love that the awards has that special Will Chain Awards.
Yeah, that has always just been that very special moment. And there are increasingly so many more firms over the past few years. We've seen the entries for that particular portion of the competition just grow. There are so many more firms of 5 or fewer. Increasingly, those firms are led by women, and we are just seeing stellar work come from that.
Right, it's amazing. And by the way, I only just shared it with her, okay? but a winning project made the cover, and yay! And so we're really jazzed about that, really excited about that. So Cheryl, I want to talk about the IIDA, and there was something that actually resonates more now than ever, which are the core values. And sometimes it's like, oh, core values. No, these are the core values of IIDA. And the first one is diversity and equity and inclusion, community support, and network. And then being a valuable resource.
And being a valuable resource, absolutely. It's such an interesting, this is the only not-for-profit job I've ever had. I came from the product manufacturer side of the world, worked for the Merchandise Mart, worked for the Washington Design Center, worked for Knoll. And this idea of being in this organization that is dedicated to people and a profession, much like you, you've got your readers, but then there's also the entire community of design.
Yes.
Yeah. And this ability for design to talk about empathy and from a behavioral standpoint and an attitudinal standpoint, it's always people first.
Right.
And, that's always been our mantra at IIDA. It's always members first. We support the individual designer in their pursuits, whether they're economic, educational, professional pursuits. The industry has gone through so many changes and incarnations, and it's the increased escalation of value and importance, the realization by the client community that design is a necessity and not a luxury.
That's right.
It keeps me coming back every year. I can't imagine doing anything else.
I agree. And, the designers, for anyone who's not a designer, we know they are almost the definition of humanity, so passionate, so caring, so giving, overly giving, to their client and their ideas. And so at the heart of where we sit, it's just so meaningful right now, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, and it's, in that letter, I referred to design as the ultimate optimistic act. It's also the ultimate altruistic act, because if you ask a designer what they do or what they desire, it's always about making something or some place or someone better.
Better. There we go. Back to your dad. Back to your dad.
Yeah. It is understanding the affect that you have and the lasting affect. And again, that's what makes design so timeless, is the lasting benefit that an individual or a collective has on a space or a place. And I'm not leaving out graphic designers or product designers.
No,
or fashion
we
designers.
love them too. Love them. Big love. Big love.
Yep. All the disciplines are invested in making something or someone better, leaving it better than you found it.
Right. And we've been saying this all along during COVID, that we're going to help get everybody onto the other side.
Oy, COVID.
I know.
Right?
God. We're not at NeoCon.
You know, I know there's a virtual aspect this year, which is wonderful, but replacing that face-to-face connection, I think next year when we're all back at both NeoCon and probably Salone as well,
right.
It's going to be amazing.
No, it will be. Now, since the video, you've moved into a gorgeous space.
We have.
By our good friend Todd Heiser at Gensler.
Right.
And
right.
so that's given you more room to actually do more events and bring more people together.
Right. We really multi-purpose that space. We've got the office side where my team, there are 25 of us at IIDA headquarters, a staff of 25. And the other side of the office really is the space that we rent out to groups and organizations to meet. And that becomes a whole other interesting conversation post-COVID, is what does the world of gathering and convening and meeting look like? But it's that space has so come to symbolize what IIDA is. You know, it's eminently warm, and it's a gathering space, and it's the, you know, array of materials and textures and textiles, very touchable. Again, all the things that we need to rethink in a post-COVID world. I did a survey of my team just to kind of evaluate where everyone is and how they're feeling about coming back to work.
Yeah, what they say.
One of the top responses, because one of the questions, what do you miss? What do you miss now that you're working from home? And obviously everybody misses their colleagues.
Yes.
But Team IIDA, we miss our office.
Love that. Space is healing. Space in the community makes people feel good. Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, it is a kind of gorgeous space.
It is kind of a gorgeous space.
Hello.
Todd and Team Gensler did such an incredible job of interpreting our purpose as a design organization, and as folks who work there, we so gravitate toward that space.
Let's talk about the members. Are you seeing positive shifts towards more diversity, towards more of the values that you so believe in?
Yes, slowly, incrementally, right? And so much of it, I've taught a couple of classes for SCAD and for K-State. And so, you know, the virtual classes for design students. And where we're really seeing diversity evident is in the classroom. There are more and more Black and brown students entering into design programs. And the goal is to keep them there. And so we're so grateful to people like John Nelson, who created a diversity scholarship for African-American students, and for IA, who has a diversity scholarship, because often there's an economic gap that needs to be met and satisfied for those students to keep them in school so that they can get through those programs. But we're definitely seeing more and more diversity in programs. Anecdotally, I hear from so many students that they were introduced to design as a career via watching HGTV, because they've seen other people of color actually practicing design. And so that representation piece, love it or hate it, whether we love or hate HGTV, it does offer opportunities for students of color to see, for young people of color to see practicing designers who look like them. And then when you see that someone who looks like you practicing a viable career, it's like, oh, I can do that. So we can't ever negate the power of representation.
We've both also been to SCAD.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful to see young people so excited about design. Also in schools that are so designed, you know, it's like it's the best example.
And so those students really do see design as an act of activism. If you think about kind of their generation, so many of them are interested in healthcare design. So many of them are interested in what design can do to help eradicate homelessness and what design can do to affordable housing is a major. So many students were doing capstone projects and thesis projects around affordable housing, climate change and the environment. And so they're gravitating toward design for all the wonderful things and reasons that people gravitate toward design, but they see it as a force.
They're being thrown into the thing that they were most interested, but in a very difficult way. But on the other side of it will be something even more meaningful and strengthen that. And those young students, my hat's off to them.
I know we're in the midst of a crisis, but I think the design profession is not letting this crisis go to waste.
No, I don't think so either. So listen, how can we all continue to be a great advocate? And even for all the designers out there.
They can have conversations right now with their clients. Designers can talk about people and the human condition probably like no other profession, right? And there are very few designers who have degrees in human resources or degrees in social psychology or cultural anthropology, but design is so invested in the human condition, and designers can so eloquently speak about what people need in terms of, yes, the physical space, but in terms of community and how we relate to one another. And so a young designer said, I really want to talk to my HR director about an affinity group, a group for Black women in our firm. And I said, so do it. You can do that. And I think we need to not be afraid to use our voices and use what we already know about the human condition to bring that to our firms, to bring that to our clients, to bring that to end users, to dealers, to kind of everybody in our gene pool.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that designers are more prepared for that than they know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, exactly. And that was kind of the purpose of my letter, is that activism is starting with what you know. You don't move to something that is difficult or uncomfortable or foreign to you. You use the tools that you have right in front of you. And again, I think if we use the design process and design thinking in rethinking how we relate to one another, it will help in kind of eradicating what we know as racism, because we've got to break down the boundaries and the barriers. Designers don't design for Black people or white people. They design for people.
Exactly.
And can we apply that to how everyone relates to one another?
Listen to Cheryl. She knows. She knows the deal. She's your amazing advocate. And there's so much love in our industry and so much goodness and humanity. Let's get it out into the world and share it, educate people, as you say, bring the next generation up, and let's make positive changes through design, which we all love.
I love when you say go forth and design.
Right.
And I think it's a great reminder for all of us that in this period, in this difficult period, pandemic and everything else that's going on, we endure, we survive, design lives forever. And we need to hold on to that and remember that. And so go forth and design, and creativity is never canceled.
Hashtag go forth and design, for sure. And listen, Cheryl, I love you. All I wish I could do is give you a real hug. A virtual one's going to have to do for now.
Yeah,
but,
it'll happen. It'll happen.
Yeah, I love you so much. I have so much respect for you. And you're an amazing leader for our industry right now, more than ever.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks for all that you do. Thanks for all of your support, the magazine and SANDOW support of IIDA. It's invaluable, invaluable. Thank you.
Good. Love and kisses.
Hello, I'm Helene Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to Product Live. This is our series that delves into the products and trends grabbing the industry and in real time looking at the minds behind the design. So what do you get from a company that makes carpet tile but sells design? Better products, happier people, and an even healthier planet. Interface challenges themselves to be better, think differently, and develop products that have a positive impact on people's lives, their spaces, and yes, the environment. With that, there's an ever-present sense of exploration and innovation shown through their commitment to restoring the planet, all the while leading with design. Here today, I have Anna Webb, Vice President of Marketing for Interface Americas, and Mindy O'Gara, Director of Product and Learning Experience. And they're here to discuss their new designer-focused program, Launchpad. So Anna, why don't we start with you? So why don't you kick us off and give us a little introduction of this new program and really what was the impetus for launching Launchpad?
Sure, thank you, Helene. I'm so excited to be here today. Yes, Launchpad is something that really came out of an idea that we needed to give our customers more product that was more kind of inspired blue sky type designs, not something that was always following a hard and fast need in terms of geography or vertical segment. Our designers are inspired every day to, come up with new designs based on what they're seeing around them. And we wanted to give them a platform to be able to do that. We also hear from our customers, the need to always have something new and innovative. And so this really kind of takes the handcuffs off of us. A lot of times we're tied to budgets and timelines, and this allows us to kind of take all of that away and just offer more product, more beautiful product, different textures, different patterns, different colors that really start to inspire our customers as well. It's something that it almost gives you more of these obscure opinionated ideas versus just broad-based kind of ideas for the full market. So we're really excited to bring this to our customers this month, and it's something that we will continue to kind of iterate on and add new patterns and new colors and new textures to on an ongoing basis.
So obviously, you guys are always really attuned to the design community and listening to their needs. So you really were hearing from designers that they need such a platform.
Yeah, we do. And, we have a big custom department as well, our interface design studio. And so a lot of that work traditionally has come out of that group. And while we will continue to offer that service because it's a huge part of our business, we wanted to offer something that was sort of a middle ground to that. So something that, might not be something that you use on every project, but something that you might use for those really special projects or those really special spaces within a project. So we think it's going to offer our customers something that they're not able to get certainly off the shelf or readily available in any other way.
No, that's great. And we all know designers really like to create a very almost customized, unique feeling for every space that they design. And so it's great that you're offering that. But, it sounds like Launchpad's sort of offering designers a lot of freedom when it comes to the specification process. When they're creating these unique designs in their office settings or hospitality settings or even healthcare settings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you actually kind of see what you're going to see from this product line is more of a crossover. So products that you might have typically seen in hospitality, you might see show up in this collection of products. I think it also kind of mimics what you would see in a retail environment or a more B2C environment, where you see, more designs more quickly that are iterated and kind of come in and out versus, products that work for many different types of spaces for a long period of time. Certainly some of those may stay on for a long time, but we're able to kind of test and try things in a different way.
So I'm just curious, do you have a specific designer in mind who might utilize this program sort of versus just going through the sort of normal channels for interface?
And maybe I'll comment for a second, Mindy, and you probably have something to add here, but we definitely are focused on the interior designer, more that kind of early adopter or risk taker, somebody who is, as I said, kind of always looking for the new thing. We have so many customers who they kind of see products and they're like, that's great, we'll use it on a few projects, but we want to move on to the next thing because they want to offer their customers something really new and different as well. So yeah, it's kind of that visionary group, if you will. Mindy, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think, well, absolutely, I do. I think you hit it right on the head. There are a lot of designers out there that really do want things to feel one of a kind. And, you know, sometimes it's not even just that kind of designer. Sometimes it's the project. You know, there might be a project that is really unique that they want to have almost a custom type look to it, even though this is not a custom product, but it does bring that type of flavor to it. So for the designer that is a little bit more nuanced, that really loves the creative process, that wants the next thing that's coming out, and is also full of innovation, because that's a lot of what we're going to see within Launchpad.
So Mindy, continuing with that, how would you just really describe the specific product offerings that you find through Launchpad, and really how do they differentiate from the sort of existing products that you might have?
Sure.
Channels.
You know, what's interesting, a lot of times when we launch a product offering, we really focus on that exact product. But what's different with Launchpad is it is this way we're going to market, and it's the kind of flow of design that's coming out of the interface design team. There is so much that happens behind the scenes that we're all like, oh, I want to give this to everybody. But sometimes that's not feasible. But with Launchpad, we're able to kind of channel a lot of design through this process and give these designers that are going to be drawn to this type of look and innovation access to that. So instead of really describing each individual product, I think what's important to note about this offering and this whole program is that you're going to see design take shape in new ways. And a lot of that will include innovation. You know, as a designer, my background is in design as well, and designers love things that are beautiful, but we also love things that are innovative. And so within Launchpad, we're gonna see tufting, the tufting process revolutionized in a couple of different ways. The first way is gonna be through innovative technology advancements. You're going to see us be able to use the equipment to do some things that traditionally the tufting process just didn't do. And the results of what you see are very unique. Things that have very dynamic pile height shifts, a lot of precision, but then we can also create some very organic and kind of distressed type patterns too. So innovation with the technology, and then innovation in patterning as well. Here's what I mean by that. And some of these concepts you may have seen come up within some of our previous product offerings, but we're exploring it in new ways. And this has everything to do with what we call transitioning. You're going to see patterns that start in one area, but by the time you actually migrate the entire offering across the floor, it's shifted to a whole new pattern, but it's done it in a very organic way. I like to describe it as it feels as if the product kind of grew into place versus it being manufactured and laid by an installer. So very biophilic in essence. And we all know that biophilic design and the qualities that that can bring to the workplace just resonate with us as humans, especially during times like this. So innovation in technology, but also innovation in patterning, from transitioning and biophilic qualities, and really just do some dynamic looks. In fact, for those of you that know our consumer brand, Floor, we recently introduced a collection called Eris, the Eris collection. And it uses a lot of the same technology. So if you've seen some of that and you like it, you're really gonna love what you see in Launchpad.
So what, you know, how long was the development? Because I know you talked a lot about technology, and especially with the tufting, where it was something that you weren't necessarily doing before. You know, was that a long process to take it from point A to point B to C and now to Launchpad?
Well, you know what's interesting about design is it's a lot of times an iterative process. You know, sometimes we design by designing to a brief. Other times as designers, we explore things and something bubbles up and we're like, that's interesting. Let's walk closer to this. And that might go on for a little while. And I really think that's where Launchpad, probably some of the grassroots of Launchpad started, is in just this creative energy that's happening not only with our designers, but also with how they're exploring the machines and how they're working with the people that manufacture the machines for us. So I guess that's a long way to answer your question, but it really was kind of this iterative process of learning, designing, trialing things out. And Anna, feel free to jump in if you want to add on to this, but it is something that our team of designers just explored, and over time saw some really great things and said, we got to share this.
Yeah, you know, Mindy, I'd say we kind of came to this point where we had a surplus of designs and, you know, not a surplus of kind of time and resources to launch all of those products.
Yes.
And so that was the challenge ahead of us. How do we get all of these great things in front of our customers and allow them to use them on projects? And so this was a collective way to think about bringing products together from a route to market perspective versus one collective thread in terms of a product. So you have, you know, a big compilation of varied products within one, you know, grouping. And so that, I think, is where you find the power.
And so I know you guys touched on it a little bit, but you know, you guys have some really great collaborators, both sort of in-house and out-of-house in terms of the designers that you work with. But I think for this program, you're starting with the in-house interface design studio, correct?
So actually, Helene, we do have a mix coming out to start. So we have designs from David Oakey and his Pond Studios. We also have designs from Carrie Pay and the Hive, which is our in-house design studio. Down the line, we're going to look to bring in designers from our design studio. And so that is a grouping of designers who lay out kind of designs on the floor with standard products, as well as custom designers who take, you know, specific projects for our customers and design. And so we see an opportunity in, again, this kind of surplus of designs that are coming from all our different designers that we can kind of bring together in one. So we're going to utilize all of them.
No, it's great. I mean, it should be, right? Because you need all those voices, really. I'm really curious. So as Launchpad, you said, is launching this month of June, sort of obviously now is NeoCon, but moving forward, are you going to be tied to specific shows or seasons, or are you just going to be launching as some of these great new product designs come out?
Yeah. You know, I think we want to remain flexible there. We have committed, though, to our company that we will provide new designs at least twice a year. I think, you know, the typical time frame for when we would introduce products, because we have a great platform to do so, is NeoCon. So I think, you know, the next iteration of this will likely come in Q4 of this year. And then you're probably going to see a typical kind of cadence going into next year and beyond. But, you know, we'll always have new things to add to this and leverage our designers for.
So then, of course, moving forward, I mean, how do designers find out about Launchpad and how to use it?
Sure. So I think before I get into kind of the nitty-gritty of that, I will say the general spirit of this program is that we want it to be collaborative with our account executives. So this is not going to be a program where we're going to send out a ton of merchandising materials that you're going to have at your fingertips in your library. This is going to be something that we really want to be high touch with our account executives. So they will have tools to showcase the product, to show photography and the way they lay out. They'll have samples provided. That'll come about mid-June, the first round of those. And really, you know, when your account executive is not there, you can also access those online. So it's not going to be your typical kind of online experience for product, but if you search for Launchpad on interface.com, you will be able to find the products that are available as part of this program.
Great. Well, you know, obviously Launchpad sounds like a great platform that I know that especially those designers out there that sort of like the unique look and feel for the products that they specify. I definitely think they should, you know, go onto the Interface website, check out their account executive, and really learn more about Launchpad. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here today. And to all of you, check out Launchpad.
Thank you, Helene.
Thank you.
Thank you.
use a lot of my memory as a source of inspiration. After high school here in Paris, I think I took 1 year where I went to the movies 3 times a day. And I saw so many of them. German movie, Italian neorealism, the American movies. And I really fed myself with those images. And I kind of trained my eye to see like a camera.
Yeah.
I know what's photogenic.
You have a lot of languages. You speak a lot of languages. You studied architecture.
Yeah.
You did graphic design and product design, furniture design.
Yeah.
You're multi everywhere you turn.
I like to define myself as polyglot and polychrome. And it's a way of saying that I mix everything together. My references are multiple. What I've lived through, what I've seen, what I've digested. And I've had to adapt all my life. Okay, when you move the whole time, what you do is, what you're good at is understanding the codes of place, and you just grab them and you make them yours. I've learned to become a chameleon. I was born in Iran. My family moved to the United States, to Cambridge, Massachusetts, when I was 1.5 years. They were the happiest years of my life just because my family was all together. The memories I had of that period are very colorful. I remember waking up watching color television, which was like a huge thing. And I remember going to school with my lunchbox. And I've kept within me this love of colors.
It was a breath of fresh air when we first showed India. It was the first time we did color in Pucci. Everyone's looking for what's new and next, and India certainly has her pulse on that.
Ralph came to me, I think in 2005, and he really loved the freshness of it, the colors, but he kept on saying, I'm not so sure America's ready for this. I'm not so sure America's ready for all these colors. These colors come from America.
They come from my lunchbox, I just want you to know.
Exactly.
You know, I think India is really in her own little unique world. I remember when we created the walls in this space, someone came in and said, oh, that's the ugliest green I have ever seen. And I said, just wait, it's going to be fabulous. India is a magician. It's that simple. She just creates magic.
There is definitely an emotional quality to all the work. Where is that coming from within you?
Yeah, I think happiness is part of my work. You know, when I come in a colorful room, I feel the sun, I feel the light, I feel the happiness, I feel the joy. Color has become a mean of expression to me.
Yes.
But I want to show you, for instance, you know, I have some bright colors, but this is just so typical. You know, you can mix these together.
Yeah, velvet is really interesting because it takes the light uniquely. India forced us to look further.
What this was about is like creating a box of crayons to me. In the beginning of my career, I really found a way of defining my projects through color.
Right.
And I just realized that because I had the ability to dare, it felt just so natural for me. I remember a project I did in Mexico, in Condesa, with the Grupo Habitat and Jonathan Moore. Originally, it was planned with all these shutters with tons of colors. And then they told me, no, we're scared of color, do it all white. So we made it all white. And I came and it was a bit boring. So then I took this turquoise and I said, paint all the ground floor this color. And the next day we came back and it suddenly grounded the whole project in a very different way.
Right.
There was a red of townhouse. Then I started mixing a lot of colors and a lot of textures together. And I had an ability to do that. It was just like a challenging myself of saying, you know what, I can mix flowers and geometric patterns and colors, up to 16 different patterns together and get away with it. And that's what I used in Le Germain, and I had fun with it, just proving myself I could do that.
Wow.
And then suddenly Sketch came up. Sketch has 3 or 4 restaurants, and this was just one big room they had. And also, it was a room that was dedicated to this artist, David Shrigley.
Right, so you already had his art.
So I go down, I see the room, and I say, yeah, I think it should be pink. And Morad, Mazou's owner, said, no, I don't like pink, but you do whatever you want. It's a very immersive room. And of course, for that project, I designed this little Charlotte chair because it looks like a plumpy little cake, which has become a signature piece, yeah.
By the way, there's no project that could be yours forever as La Durée.
Oh, right.
I mean, come on. It is so you.
It's true that I've done 3 La Durées. They had in the DNA a relation to French classic, to Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
And they came to me saying, what is La Durée today? And I said, well, you know, something very simple. It's Marie Antoinette traveling. What is Marie Antoinette when she goes to Hollywood? What is it like when she goes to Geneva? What would she like if she goes to Japan? So it's a garden of sweetness. Here we're on my street, on the street Las Casas. So it all started here. This was my studio.
That's amazing.
So these are the heroes of my childhood.
Here's the nod.
Yeah. Then I found the studio upstairs, and I decided to transform this into a showroom. Here we're in the studio, which is like the head of all the creative part. It would be nice if we painted it a bright color, maybe a yellow. The design of furniture and objects, the interior design, the scenography, the architecture. It all happens here.
Look at the colors.
I did a chess
Oh my
game
goodness.
with my bishop, and we're doing the salt and pepper like this. I usually design a piece of furniture for every single project I do. Then this is the second space I opened, which is all about small objects.
Come on in.
This is what sort of makes me happy. Little objects, high energy.
Gee, by the way, it smells delicious in here.
Thank you.
And everything you want to touch and take home, basically.
In fact, I never wanted to become an architect. Really, all of this is a big accident. I wanted to become a filmmaker.
Right.
Once I finished my architecture school in Paris, I went to New York for a year, and I took these courses at Parsons, at Cooper Union, and actually it gave me a very different intake. You know how you think of architecture? You start with a site and you zoom in, you know? And suddenly it was the other way around, as you started with a small element and you're zooming out, you know, so it was a different perspective.
So you liked seeing that, right?
So I came back to Paris and it was full of energy. We're Place de la Bastille, so this is where the whole French Revolution started, you know?
Oh my goodness.
This is one of the big cafes I designed for the Thierry and Gilbert Coste. It's a revisited brasserie. We wanted this to be strong enough to hold the void of the city.
This is like the kind of project that will last for the next 20 years.
That's what we do. Right. I capture the sign of the time. I like giving people a way to feel they're somewhere special. But at the same time, I don't want it to be overwhelming.
It seems to me that your toolbox is full of all these things that you can use.
I love going back and forth to Iran. You know, there's a lot of diversity in terms of architecture, in terms of history. They've liberated themselves from the rules.
Right.
And there's something soft and beautiful and rough and hard at the same time. And those two together actually create something that's quite fascinating.
Are we talking about you? In some way, we're talking about you.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Hi, I'm Kate Casey of Peg Woodworking, and welcome to our studio.
Today I'm going to give you a tour of my shop, so come on in. This is our shop space. This is mostly where we do the woodworking, and then we have an additional space where we do the weaving because we also do a lot of seats. I started Peg Woodworking in 2014, and it has maintained being an all-female run company. My personal background is in sculpture, so a lot of the pieces have a very sculptural heavy reference and inspiration that will stand on its own as a sculptural object, but also has a function to it. I was particularly drawn to the coopering process. It's an old traditional technique. It's how they used to make old barrels. So essentially it's strips, it's staves that are cut at the right angle, so then when you fold them up and glue them, they're able to make a clean, faceted arc. We have a lot of the tools that we need quite immediately. Make sure that we're always measuring twice, cutting once. This is actually the end for a bench. And we create the rails that go across right here, and then this has a woven seat. Right now I'm clearly in this phase where I love the coopering, but I'm trying to push this methodology as far as we can go and push this technique to a place where we are making things that I haven't seen done before. I know that I'm selling pieces to people that I hope will use them for generations, so I want to be sure that I'm using methodologies and techniques that have been used for years and are tried and true, and I also want to make sure that the designs I make will withstand wear and tear of general use, hopeful decades to come. The woodworking is only half of what we do. A lot of what we create in here is seating, and all of our seats are hand woven in-house. So we're gonna take a trip to the second studio and show you some of our weaving work. Now we're here at my home weaving studio. This is the buddy, or studio assistant, and we're gonna go inside and show you the rest of the weaving studio. This is kind of our quieter, smaller space where we have all of our cord and all of our materials to work from. It's nice to have these dual spaces because we can kind of have the dustier, dirtier side kept to the shop, and then this kind of quieter, more meditative process can happen in this space. Weaving was really important to me early on because aesthetically I really love mid-century modern Danish furniture. I also love shaker furniture, but it had a very limited range as far as the patterning and the color that you can get when you're doing these woven seats. So I started experimenting and looking at other techniques, and eventually came to this process, which is a little bit macrame, a little bit crochet. It definitely pulls a lot from traditional weaving techniques, but it allows me to play with more intricate patterning rather than just the traditional like herringbone patterns that you'll find in Danish furniture. If we're doing nothing else, which we never are, it would probably take a solid 3 weeks to complete one of our pieces. I do enjoy these days when we're here and we're weaving and we all get to be together, and it's a nice community when we do have all weaving projects to work on. I think that one of the biggest things that we offer is this unique ability to thoroughly customize a piece, from scale, finish, wood species, patterning, cord color selection. There's just so much that the client gets to make a choice about, that when they finally receive this piece, it is very much a piece that they contributed in designing. On the rare occasion that I get to stand back and look at what we've done and how proud I am of what we've created and how proud I am of the women that I get to work alongside of, it's extraordinarily exciting for me. Thanks everybody for touring our spaces with us. If you want to see any more, please visit our website, pegwoodworking.com. Bye.
Hello, I'm Helene Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to Products Live. This is our series that delves into the products and trends, grabbing the industry, and in real time, looking at the minds behind the design. At the heart of every office or classroom, there's a place where people can congregate, share ideas, collaborate, and inspire others. It's this mindset that's at the very core of SurfaceWorks, where tables are designed and built to meet these very needs. With me today is Chris Gnadt, hopefully General Manager of SurfaceWorks. Welcome, Chris. Thank you so much for being here. So I thought it would be great to start off. Can you walk us through some of the corporate pillars that really help define SurfaceWorks as a brand?
So SurfaceWorks is a table company. We manufacture tables for the office, education, healthcare, government, and hospitality industries. SurfaceWorks brand has been around since 2004, but our parent company has been manufacturing tabletops since 1946. So we've been at this for a while. Our brand pillars, we have 3 brand pillars that help define our brand. The first is making it yours. This is all about customization. From our award-winning standards to our one-of-a-kind specials, the focus is on your vision, no matter how complex. Design inspirations, specifications, concepts alike, you can truly make your table yours down to the last detail. The second brand pillar is an engine that always runs smooth. And this is talking about our operational excellence. We utilize advanced information systems, state-of-the-art equipment, hundreds of thousands of square feet, and hundreds of dedicated associates to help us ensure that we deliver tables quickly, reliably, and accurately. Our last brand pillar is service with a smile, Wisconsin style. You know, we're pretty friendly up here in Wisconsin, and this really comes through in our customer service. We're a 3rd-generation family-owned business, and it's not just the ownership that's family, but we have many employee families that have worked here for multiple generations. We're a family who value integrity, practices open communication, and treats everyone as if there's no kids' table.
Love that. Well, thanks for a little insight into the 3 pillars. I know one of them you kind of touched on, which is we all know that designers love really to customize every inch of the spaces they design. And I know for SurfaceWorks, there's no necessarily set standard for when it comes to your products. Would you say that the possibilities are virtually endless when it comes to how designers design their tables?
Absolutely. That's a great way of putting it. You know, our logo, we call it the Infinity S, and it's an S for SurfaceWorks, but it's the infinity symbol, and that really represents our infinite options. The ability to customize shapes, sizes, laminate colors, edging materials and colors, base finishes. There are literally millions of combinations of standard products, plus the ability to build from scratch custom.
So of course, so you do have set foundational pieces and that designers can build upon and customize sort of to their needs. And I know one of these new pieces within the collection is DAX. So can you just go through a little bit about the versatility and flexibility of this new table?
Sure. Yeah, DAX, we're really excited about it. We got that launched a little early this year. We got it launched in February. And DAX was really designed for functionality and beauty. DAX uses a sleek, polished aluminum foot with a powder-coated steel upper column to give the table its unique style. DAX is also a straight-on nesting table. What this means is that when you nest the tables together, each leg slides inside of the next leg rather than accordioning out. So it results in a very dense nesting table. The DAX adds only 4 inches of space for each table when you're nesting them. So you can fit a lot of tables in a small storage area.
And I know with the DAX, you guys actually collaborated, you know, with an outside designer. What was that process like?
It was very interesting. The designer that we used for the DAX is a Japanese designer, and he designs product for Asia and all over the rest of the world. And it really was that sleek design that drew us to his designs. Some of the other features that we incorporated into the DAX are unique shapes. We have a shape called a half squircle, and a rounded trapezoid, and a 30-degree arc. And these interesting shapes help you create configurations that are both functional and interesting.
And I'm just curious, because you did work with this Japanese designer, have you guys worked with outside collaborators before on some of the other pieces within the collection?
Yes, the designer of the DAX, we have experience working with them in the past. They actually designed the medley table, which is probably our most successful table of all time.
So where exactly can the DAX be utilized? I mean, I know that, you know, as a company for SurfaceWorks, you know, you're for workplace, healthcare, education. Did you have a specific sector in mind when designing it?
Well, DAX is what we call a training table. And really what that means is it's a multi-purpose table. It can be used in corporate training rooms, meeting rooms, conference rooms. DAX will also have a place in education environments. Because of its flexibility and ease of reconfiguration, that's a feature that is very common in education as well. And then also the material choices that we use. The DAX can come with laminate or linoleum on the surface material. And laminate and linoleum are antimicrobial. They can be cleaned with bleach. And obviously that's an important feature for education environments.
Correct. No, I mean, absolutely. I'm sure moving forward, it's going to becoming even more important in terms of how designers are going to specify their tabletops. I am curious though, because I know that you guys expanded your offerings in 2018 when you acquired Izzy Plus products. How did those products sort of fit into the existing SurfaceWorks collection?
That's a great question. Yeah, in 2018, SurfaceWorks acquired 6 products from Izzy. They were the Dewey, the Clara, the Penny, the Nemo Bar, and Nemo Trellis. And you know, Izzy was one of only a few other table manufacturers that was making poured urethane edges. This is something that SurfaceWorks has been a leader in since the 80s. And so it was really a natural fit for us to take on these products because we had experience with the urethane. Also, the Izzy product is very well suited for the education market, both the K through 12 and higher ed. And SurfaceWorks has always been very strong in corporate office furniture, but the addition of the Izzy products will help bring us into the education market and boost our offering in that area where we were kind of weak.
So last year you launched a coloring competition to help inspire the design community, which I think came out of the Izzy acquisition, and specifically the penny table. So what was the impetus for launching this coloring contest?
So there's a kind of a long history to this. So a long time ago, there was a company called Harder Furniture, and their logo was a heart, and they would do a promotion in February for Valentine's Day. And over the years, Harder was acquired by Jami. Jami was later acquired by Izzy. And then the Harder penny table was acquired by SurfaceWorks through the Izzy acquisition in 2018. So SurfaceWorks has been keeping in the tradition of the Valentine's Day promotion. And this year we did the penny design contest. So we opened this up to interior designers and students, and we got a lot of great submissions. I'm actually sitting here at my penny table today, which works great for home office. So with this contest, the designers could submit their art in any medium, whether it's pencil sketches, watercolor, photography, oil paint, or even graphic design. We collected the art. We chose 10 winners, and we're currently manufacturing the penny tables for those customers. And the winners will be announced the week of NeoCon, and the designers will get to keep their table with their designs. One of the amazing ways to customize a SurfaceWorks table is to utilize digital laminate for the surface material. Digital laminate is the same high quality, high pressure laminate as all of our standard laminates, but you can literally create any image and send it to us, and we can turn that into laminate.
So obviously, if a company has a corporate logo, or an education space, correct, they can just submit that, and you guys will be able to digitally print it on the table?
Exactly. It's just another way to make your table yours.
So we know that, certainly such moments as the coloring competition, these moments of inspiration and motivation are really, really much needed in this current climate. And especially as we're finding ourselves in new ways of living and playing and working, certainly there will be new standards within workplace design. How is SurfaceWorks sort of shifting sort of your focus to fit what these new needs may be?
That's a great question. Things are changing very rapidly. SurfaceWorks is a table company, so we make mobile tables that can be reconfigured easily. So this flexibility is really necessary to reconfigure rooms and to design for the new standards. Another way that we can fit into this new shift is through our material selections. Laminate surface materials are non-porous. They can be cleaned with bleach. There are some other materials like Wilsonart's HD laminate or Forbo marmoleum and SurfaceWorks PureTech urethane edges that have built-in antimicrobial properties. So this means that the material can prevent the growth of bacteria and fungus on surfaces. And finally, SurfaceWorks is launching some new divider panels. We're using a polycarbonate divider material. Polycarbonate is a clear material, so it allows for safe social interaction. It also doesn't block out a lot of the light that the open office, the one advantage of open offices is all of that wonderful natural light. Polycarbonate is lightweight, it's nearly shatterproof. It's actually 5 times more impact resistant than acrylic and half the weight of glass. So we're really excited about that. We're going to be launching that the week of NeoCon as well.
I mean, it's great that you guys are really thinking about new ways for people to sort of collaborate together, but safely apart. And I know that certainly, health and wellness is a big part of the conversation, always has, but safety more than ever, and cleanability is probably a really hot topic for all of us. It's great that you guys are sort of thinking about these dividers. Are you exploring any other sort of innovative ways to help bring people together at the table?
We've reached out to a number of interior designers that are really on the pulse of the change, and they're helping us to utilize our existing products to fit into these environments. And we're working on a guide for that, but we're also working on making sure we're staying ahead of the trends to understand what the next new product will be. So don't really know what that is going to be yet, but when we figure that out, we'll be ready.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great that you're having these conversations. I think it's still early on to know for sure, but I think these dialogues that we're having today and that you're having with your design clients are really key to have an understanding what the new workplace, the new education setting, the new healthcare setting is going to look like, so that you can adapt and sort of pivot your focus to make sure you meet those needs. Chris, I want to say thank you so much for being here today, for the insight obviously about SurfaceWorks as a brand, certainly the new DAX, which I want to tell our audience to check it out, and also the new divider panels, which seem like they're going to be very key both in the workplace and education setting. So Chris, thank you for being here. Thank you for all of your insights, and good luck.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Helene Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to Product Live. This is our series that delves into the products and trends, grabbing the industry, and in real time, looking at the minds behind the design. So crafting innovative design for the last 45 years, Frovi has been able to push the boundaries in the development of distinctive furniture, all the while maintaining at its heart the quality and craftsmanship of its British heritage. Every one of their new products is created in-house from the ground up, and they have a mission of nurturing creativity and to ensure they are providing the design industry with the most forward-thinking solutions for their spaces. And with that, I'd like to welcome David King, R&D Design Manager for Frovi. Thank you, David, so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, leading the design team at Frovi, I've been told that your design ethos is for thoughtful, creative, beautiful design with a clear process and a drive for simplicity. How do you capture that in the designs for the Frovi products?
That's interesting you ask. So I think we build ourselves on a process within the R&D team. We like to develop the design brief from the ground up with the team, with the customers, with the sales reps. And develop a clear design process to ensure that we meet that brief and all the goals and the USPs that contain within it.
Got it. And as a company, you recognize that you have a responsibility to help protect the environment wherever possible, to be a responsible neighbor, and really to provide a safe environment for both the employees of Frovi and for all of your clients. So how do you implement these sustainable practices within Frovi itself and within the products that you design?
We've seen a huge shift change in the sustainability of our products and of what we're being required to do by our customers, and what's generally we have to do as designers. We have to take ownership of the products that we're designing and developing, and have a real thought process in the materiality, the recyclability from the ground up. And it's something that's come to the forefront of a lot of our new products that we're working on, about how we're impacting the environment, how we can improve it for not just the environment, but people's well-being and their mental health as well. So it's something that we challenge ourselves with at the very early stage of the design. It comes up in the design brief where we talk around what we want from the product, what our aspirations for the product are. And that gives us a really clear, in-depth goal, I suppose, to try and achieve the new designs that we're working on.
So speaking of new designs, of course, let's jump into some of the new introductions that you're launching right now. The first one being home. Would you say the collection is a reaction to this more residential feeling that we're seeing in the workspace?
Definitely, 100%. That's exactly why we designed it. It was, we saw a massive shift to that probably about 2 years ago, and we should see no sign of it slowing down. And we wanted to jump on that and make sure that we developed a product that looked unique within the workspace, that gave that real residential feel, but had the commercial mentality behind it. The way that it was designed and built from the ground up was solid. It was flexible. The accessories worked well to harvest creativity within the office environment, but it still reminded you of home, to be perfectly honest. And the soft kind of the feminine design to the product as well, just even elevated that to the next level and made it a real pleasure to work on.
No, I mean, I definitely loved the curvy feeling of it. So, but you know, it's very much about the details for this product, correct? So can you just tell us some of the specific design elements and accessories that one can find in home?
Of course, yeah. So the product was designed to be flexible, both from a customer customization point of view, but also from our operations point of view, the guys that are building this. So the sheer nature that you can have it in single and two-seaters, both with high and low back. You've got the added addition of the mobile media wall, which was a real revolution, to be perfectly honest, in the booth kind of area within the market where most things are fixed. You know, you can't reconfigure. These are completely separate entities that you can move, you can adjust, you can reconfigure based on your space. And the mobile media wall also enables you to have, you've got your power, your tables, your whiteboards. So you've got a whole wide range of uses, from just keeping it as an acoustic booth to having it as a creative pod with the whiteboard. And then obviously you've got all the power and the functionality that comes with that as well.
That's great. Do you kind of see, given the shift in the market, that there's going to be this greater need for these sort of like almost cocoon-like, very safe environments for whether it's an individual, hopefully at some point more than one individual at a time?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say at this exact time, but yes, I do. I do feel that we see a lot of need for this. You know, the majority of spaces are open plan. People are task working. People are want to be more agile and need to have a space where they can use for a certain part of their day, part of their process. And the customization of home and the way that you can use it in different ways enables that. And I do feel there'll be a bigger push towards this, about us almost capturing a little bit of space back from the open plan as well.
Mm-hmm. And we know that you know, especially even in an open plan, that designers love to customize anything and everything. I mean, down to the little last detail. And I think especially with something like Relic, you know, that the possibilities are really limitless, correct?
Correct, 100%. I think when we designed Relic, it was one of the first projects I had the privilege of working on here at Frovi, and we really tried to challenge what would be acceptable, what we could try and achieve with minimal components, really simplistic design. And I think that at its heart, it achieved that. And the mix of finishes and materials that you can specify on the product is what makes us unique in the marketplace at the moment. There's just the vast portfolio of our finishes is growing every day. We're constantly experimenting with new materials, new finishes, new processes as well, just to constantly elevate and keep that product on top of its game.
So, I mean, obviously, to your point, you know, in terms of your products in Relic, you know, you don't really shy away from color or materiality. I mean, that really seems to be, I mean, in home as well, correct? So, you know, what's the power behind color and materiality for the brand?
I think it's just giving the customer the option, the customer to feel that they're getting a customizable product, something that's truly unique to them, that's not just in its you know, a few color options which everyone else has. You can really customize every single aspect of our products, and it's something that we've held dear to us from the day that I started here. And it gives us great flexibility. And I think the tactile nature of it, you know, if we look at the Relic range in particular, we offer a fantastic top finish called our sawn tabletops, and they're an engineered solid product with a tactile sawn finish to them. So they're lovely. They feel rustic. They feel beautiful to touch. They've got the added benefit of being hugely wearable, because you know, the longevity of that surface is incredible. So I think it's just about offering the customer what they want and keep listening to them as well.
So we understand, and I think you kind of spoke about it earlier, but the incorporation of biophilia into a design can lead to a much healthier work environment, you know, where you're reducing stress, enhancing creativity, and really improving the overall well-being of an inhabitant. Was that the thinking behind this like framework design of Relic Cloud, where you can add hanging plants and other greenery?
The Relic Cloud was an incredible project. It was every year at Clarkmore Design Week, which then is obviously followed by NeoCon Now as well. We tried to present a concept piece, and we developed the Relic range. It was going from strength to strength, and I wanted to challenge everyone to say, look, what else could we create here? How can we add an element of well-being, an element of, you know, the biophilia aspect to our products? And the way that we challenged ourselves was to use it as a divide, use it as a space to segregate space, that's soft, warming to work at. It's if you've ever had the privilege of sitting at one and working, it's a different experience. You've got this canopy of plants above you or in front of you, depending on how you hang them. And it really adds intrigue and softness to the product. And being such a vast kind of framework on there with such an industrial feel, it's a real kind of juxtaposition of feelings as well. So it's yeah, it was an incredible project, and it's done really well for us. And I think the biophilia angle is popping up everywhere at the moment. We're seeing it in a lot of our projects, used not just on Relic Cloud, but on other schemes and everything, and people really taking cues from it.
So moving into your last introduction, do you believe companies and employees are really going to look for opportunities to sort of, I'm saying, build their own colony, given sort of what the new workspace might become? I know it's a little too early to say.
I really hope so. I think the colony project, from our point of view, has been a 2-year labor of love for both myself and my team. Once again, it was our concept piece for Clarkmore Design Week last year. We'd already developed it for a year in advance of that, getting it to the stage it was. Countless prototypes, countless iterations of framework and designs and patterns to get the stability, get the functionality behind the product correct. And once we got it to that stage and we were able to present it to people, finally get it in front of people for their comments, their feedback, you know, and explain to them what we were trying to create, instantly people got it. People understood that these structures they could act as beacons within the office, completely customizable space within them, to your heart's content as well, that you could create these different zones, different moods, different feels, play with lighting, textures, colors, fabrics, the works. And I think that really excited a lot of people when we presented the product. And we've obviously gone on from there to now launch it as an official Frovi product. And also we've got all the kind of the bells and whistles that go with it as well. The configurator online, enabling people to customize it to their heart's content, and literally send in an order or a request for quote directly to the sales team. So it's been an incredible project to work on.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it's going to be implemented in workspaces, because obviously you can sort of create a defined space, but it still has this openness that I think, that people are probably going to need now for safety reasons. But I mean, what tools do you offer designers so that they can basically customize this colony space?
So we try to offer them as much, I suppose, tools as we have as designers ourselves, and that, we have our generic CAD blocks and all the planning and specification documents that we have. We've got obviously the My Resource Library that's up and running now with all the information and everything on. But also the big investment here was for the online configurator, especially for Colony, and it's something that we're working on for other products as well, because that customization, that ease to customize a complex product and really kind of take it down to its bare bones makes it so much easier for the customer as well.
And of course, speaking of customization, so can designers send you guys CAD drawings of their own sort of designs for the panels?
Yeah, correct. It's something that we've just recently launched, actually. It's something that we had feedback on from customers saying, oh, we'd love to do this, but could we tailor it to our space? And we said, well, why not? The felt panels in particular, easily done, really easily done. So quite simply send in us your designs and we can make that work and work with you to truly customize your own bespoke colony as well.
Mm-hmm. So I know that you're always listening to the needs of the design community. I mean, have you found that the brand is shifting sort of given the sort of different needs and different demands that are probably going to start arising for the workspace, or is it sort of too early on to sort of say?
No, I think we have seen it. We've shifted our R&D approach in the last few months, mainly due to obviously what's going on in the world at the moment. We've adapted essentially. We're trying to help people. We're trying to come up with concepts and solutions for office spaces that generally enable people to carry on designing the way they were. Great spaces, great collaborative areas, but with the human wellness in mind, and trying to develop products to suit that are Frovi at heart as well. We're not trying to design things that everyone else is doing. We're trying to go back to our roots, go back to our core and say, how can we help people? What can we do? And there's a few products that we're launching imminently and that we have just launched that I generally feel are our first foray into that, of really helping people in these difficult times.
Do you think you're going to be moving more into that, sort of helping employees create sort of safe, healthy environments in the workspace?
I think to a certain extent, yes. I think we have to, as designers, we want to help. We want to design products that will help people at the moment with the developing of workspaces for the future. We've got a lot of documentation that we've been working on very carefully with our existing portfolio of products, with the marketing team, with the sales team, to educate people on new ways that we can work and new ways that we can establish colonies, I suppose, and our other products throughout the office. But I do feel there's a definite shift in the way that we have to adapt to our approach at the moment. We'd love it to go back to how it was, but we also have to be accepting of change and embrace it as well.
No, I mean, I think we all need to learn how to pivot and adapt given the current needs. One last question. I'm very curious because obviously, you're a British brand at heart, designed and manufactured in the UK. Do you have a different perspective than maybe some of your counterparts in Europe or even your American design sort of manufacturers?
Always. I think the different territories and the different ways that we approach things, they're always interesting when they come together. But we have some excellent collaboration with our counterparts over in America. We recently just had a lovely little sales catch up with the R&D team, the whole team around the table, obviously via VC at the moment. Where we can present the new developments and the new products we're working on, and also kind of talk about ideas and concepts that we've got. How are you approaching it? What's the general consensus on the ground with you guys as well? So we try and listen to everything. I think, we've never had something like this, which is so far reaching and affecting so many people. But the more people we can listen to and learn from as well as designers, that's only going to enable us to develop better, simpler, more effective products to help people at the moment. So,
David, with that, I'd love to thank you for the insight into the Frovi brand. You're really into your new introductions, what's coming up for the company as well. And to our audience out there, please make sure to check Frovi out. Thank you. Hello, I'm Helene Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you to Product Tour. This is our series that delves into the products and trends, grabbing the industry, and in real time, looking at the minds behind the design. Do you ever wonder how flooring can impact the human experience? Shaw Contract supports the world of people and all that we do to live, work, and play from the ground up. And they do it in a smarter, more sustainable fashion that, yes, impacts the world around us for the better. With that, I would love to welcome Natalie Jones, Brand Director, and Reesie Duncan, VP of Global Design for Shaw Contract. Thank you guys so much for being here today. So jumping right in. So one can say that the ideas of Shaw Contract impacts the world all begin in your Create Center, which you define as a physical symbol of your commitment to thinking differently and to invest in innovation, collaboration, and the well-being of your associates. Natalie, can you give us a little insight, since obviously that's where you're sitting right now, correct?
It is where we're sitting.
Yep. Can you give us a little insight into the Create Center and how this building has really become the heart of the brand?
It really has. You know, we opened the Create Center in October of 2017, so it's hard to believe we're going on 3 years in this amazing space, but the Create Center really is the visual expression of our brand and our belief in the power of design. You know, we know that design affects place and place affects behavior, and ultimately it's that behavior that begets change.
And so what does that mean for you and your team?
Oh gosh, I think for us, we've seen firsthand, just since we've moved into this space, how we are all positively impacted. And we worked with Gensler, who designed this fantastic Create Center, to come back and do a post-occupancy survey 2 years into us being in here. And it was remarkable, all of the scores that went up and the way our associates were impacted by just being in here with regard to collaboration, connection, feeling more positively about the brand and about the people they work with. Originally, our pre-occupancy score was a 46, and then the post-occupancy score for overall satisfaction went up to a 73. So really dramatic results.
Well, but obviously the Create Center has not just impacted, you know, the Shaw Contract team. I mean, you really actually have made an impact on the sort of larger community at large, correct?
Absolutely. The site of the building was really intentional. You can tell, I think, from the view, there's a ton of glass. It's all about transparency, which reflects our core values of honesty and transparency. And we wanted to be very close to the street so that the community driving by or walking by can see in and see what we're doing.
But like, you actually open those doors, correct? And allow the community into the space to utilize it.
We do. It was really part of the plan for the development of the building to make sure that it was viewed as a part of the community. Our roots here in Cartersville, Georgia go back more than 50 years. And so a number of our associates are third generation working as a part of the Shaw Contract team. So again, engaging the community was very intentional from the design of the space originally. This whole first floor is a hospitality area. And so we host community groups. There's a Toastmasters group that comes in and uses the building for their meetings. We host field trips with local elementary schools and high schools. It's terrific. We'll have children come in and partner with our design and marketing associates just to learn what they do to see if they might want to pursue a career in design. So very closely connected with the community.
Well, we love that. Sort of building that next generation of designers is great.
Yep.
So we definitely know about the importance of building a healthy workspace. And so what elements were included into the Create Center's design to accommodate this well-being of the team and actually the community when they're using the space?
Right. We know that exposure to natural light and having views of the outdoor is so important to overall well-being. And in 98% of the working areas of the building, there is exposure to natural light and views of the outdoors. it's really in those ancillary spaces where you might go to make a copy or get supplies that are the ones that are not outdoor facing.
So obviously natural light is really important, but you have this amazing solar shade on the exterior of the building, which is in like the most amazing orange, which by the way, we love any good, shade of orange at interior design. But, there's a lot of significance in, utilizing that color, correct?
Yes, the solar screen is really one of the most notable architectural features of the building. The beams are at a 62-degree angle to really optimize the light without getting the glare in the space. And then additionally, as you mentioned, the color is really a nod to both our global business as well as our roots here in Georgia. So the color of the steel beams is international orange, which again is a nod to the global nature of our business. But again, that Pantone color of international orange is all about helping set things apart from their background, which we really want this space to be in the community. And then it's also really reminiscent of the color of Georgia red clay. If you've ever been to Georgia, our red clay is our soil, and it's not really red, it's kind of that very orange red color.
Natalie, that's so great. Obviously, being big proponents of color and design, and of course, speaking of design, I would love to shift gears, and we should definitely delve into the new introductions that are being launched for Shaw Contract. And those are obviously led by your VP of Global Design, Reesie Duncan, whose passion for architecture and design has helped Shaw Contract evolve into a forward-thinking global brand for commercial flooring. So Reesie, you direct the design studio for the company, which is centered around 4 studios, which is defined as lifestyle, workplace, global, and community. How do you define the design work that comes out of each of the studios, and do they each take a different approach to their design process?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a connection of our products and a connection for all of our studios to really work super close and collaboratively. But really what sets them apart is the deep understanding of that segment need. So our workplace studio really dives deep into understanding workplace, the needs of that particular segment, and also forging relationships in the design community with our account managers to really be the connection and the expert for that segment. And then we really collaborate together to find those overlaps that are really more prevalent every day.
So I know that you are in the process of launching the new rugs collection, which, congratulations, recently won an NYC by Design Award, which is amazing. What studio did the rug collection actually come out of? Is that workplace, or did it come out of sort of lifestyle? It sort of would be interesting to hear that.
Yeah, so the rug program was really a blend of everything we are, and it had contributions from past collections from every studio, and then also some collaborative partners that we brought in to bring some different perspectives.
So who are some of those design collaborators?
Yeah, so we collaborated with Trish Anderson, and she's actually a local artist from Dalton, went to SCAD, and she sort of says she paints with yarn, so has this really sort of creative, artistic sense about her. Adriana Jaroslavsky, she is a designer that's living in England. She's from Venezuela. Just has this inspiration for the interaction of color and space and architectural bold patterns. You should check out her Instagram work. I mean, it's just amazing art that she does every day. Some really great bold patterns. And then the Rockwell Group, which we have a long-term relationship with. We have collaborated with them over the past 7 years. And we brought in some rugs from a current collection with them that we just did, Desert Lights. So really looking at geographical patterns and the brilliant textures of the American Southwest desert.
So I'm really actually curious, especially for Trish and Adriana, like, obviously we all know Rockwell and the amazing work that they do, but for somebody like Trish or Adriana, how are you sort of searching out those type of collaborators?
Yeah, the rug program was kind of unique in that we could find small artistic artists that we were just really inspired by as a team, because it isn't as big and committal as a large collection. And a rug really is about bringing a warm kind of intimacy, but also a really inspiring sense of place that it creates. So we wanted a few moments in the larger group of 30 patterns. So they each kind of contributed to, and just really wanted to kind of branch out and do something artistic.
No, I understand that. So I'm curious with this rugs collection, do you feel that it's a reaction to sort of the more residential feeling that we're finding in the workspace?
Yeah, I mean, over the past few years, we've seen the market shift. The commercial, residential, hospitality lines are blurred more and more, and public spaces are really focusing on creating impactful and engaging environments, no matter what segment it is. And rugs can really bring a warm intimacy to that environment and create almost that comfort of home, but also a vibrant sense of place. And then I think the second thing that's driving it, as we see more shifts into hard surface and open spaces, acoustics are becoming more of an issue. And so rugs really add a great sound absorption quality into the room as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, you give this little insight that I actually thought was really lovely, which was rugs help you design an acoustic experience that encourages positive emotional and physical responses in the built environment, which I think really captures all of that. And in terms of like, it has a creative response. It sort of envelops you, but of course it's like in the end, it dampens noise because we all live in an open workspace, correct, and open lounge areas, and it will be interesting to see moving forward if it shifts more into that direction or not. So it might be too early to kind of say at this time. You kind of touched on it, of course, which is the hard surfaces. So moving from something soft like the rugs collection, and you're launching a new LVT collection called Tailor, which you define as tradition meets technology. And I really feel like you can absolutely tell from the images of this product that it's really pure fashion at heart, correct?
Yeah, Tailored is a new woven LVT for us. So we are introducing a lot of new hard surfaces kind of the middle of this year, 7 new LVT styles. Tailored is one of those. And this construction is kind of this blend of tradition and technology. It gives you this tactile quality to the floor because it is an actual woven fabric that is then made into the performance of a hard surface. So the inspiration is really that craftsmanship and the tradition of classic tweed textiles, but it weaves together that hard surface durability into it.
So can you just describe a little bit more about that process? Because it's hard to understand that it's a woven textile that is an LVT and like the technology around the production of it.
Yeah, so Tailored is manufactured on a jacquard loom. So the same loom that you would weave fabric, but it's actual vinyl threads. So it's a tightly woven flooring, and then the material composition is layered for strength and then fused into a single solid surface. So it's a thin 3mm LVT, but it's also engineered to resist stains and wear with our ExaGuard top coat, just like our other standard LVT. So you have this tactile quality to that hard surface. So it's kind of a hybrid floor.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that it does feel like tailored, like a suit, like it has that sort of texture to it. But have you guys done woven LVT before, or is this the first collection?
Yeah, so this is our third woven LVT. So just adding to that collection and choices that we have.
But do you find that there's going to be an education process around that? Because are people going to see that it has this texture, but maybe assume that it doesn't have the cleanability and other things that it actually does for an LVT?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. And it's something that we have definitely driven home on the other two products that we have. But with any, product that is a little different, it is a little niche. So we definitely put into our marketing material and explain how to clean it and how that product is constructed to really make it easy to clean and prevent fraying or dirt and how to maintain that.
And I mean, are you, I should say, seeing and or hearing in terms of obviously the conversations that are being had with the design community about more products like LVT and understanding sort of the shifts of what the needs are going to be moving forward, whether it's the workplace or health and wellness or education?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think overall we have, several different constructions in hard surface to meet different needs. And whether it's our hardwood line or our Core-Tec, which adds, floating floor and waterproof sensibilities, or the growing 5mm thick LVT, which is really a great solution to seamlessly sort of transition between carpet tile and hard surface. We're definitely seeing abstract visuals on the rise and that thicker platform really growing.
Well, shifting gears to shifting fields, which is the last of the 3 product introductions that you have. And this really draws inspiration from the natural landscape. And can you just sort of describe how the collection embraces the power of biophilia with its patterning?
Yeah, this is a really beautiful collection to kind of think of how our interior products can mimic the outdoors and just how our landscapes shift throughout the natural world and the variety of environments that support the different types of life that are formed, for example. We kind of use that as inspiration to look at how the diverse environments that we have in interior spaces and how we could create flooring that really shifts and can be used in different ways in a very flexible way to support the range of functions in our daily life and routines.
No, so of course you put a lot of thought into the functionality of the carpet tiles, especially when it comes into issues of like wayfinding, correct? Or setting specific sort of in defining areas within the workspace or in an individual setting.
Yeah, the patterns, they draw their inspiration from grasslands or forest, and then think about how a horizon line might change and the color will sort of subtly shift. So we've created the patterns where they really connect together in different ways and sort of blur the boundaries to create and define spaces through zoning or transitioning or wayfinding by using different colors and patterns together.
And then we also obviously know the power of biophilia and, really helping create a healthier space, whether it's mentally, physically for the inhabitants. And I'm just curious to understand, do you feel that there's going to be a greater shift to patterning like this and products moving forward?
Yeah, I think as we concentrate on our well-being and our employees' well-being, whether you're in workplace or even thinking about healthcare facility or even education, I think these soft textures and biophilic patterns really add to that sense of comfort and well-being that we're all trying to achieve in the interior spaces. And so I think this collection really speaks to that. I think it also, we say it really is very appropriate today, even where we are right now and how our lives are shifting and our interiors are shifting. So these patterns are very kind of on cue to answer some of the solutions that we need to.
And then just off of that, I mean, are you forecasting sort of like what you're going to be doing sort of coming up next year? Is it too early on to say? I mean, are you already sort of pivoting from some initial ideas that you're already having?
We're definitely trying to incorporate some more immediate solutions and ways that people can use the floor to create wayfinding or circulation, or even different tiles that you can inset into an existing installation that might signal social distancing. So more immediate needs. And then we are really thinking about kind of, because we sort of work 12 months out and that's our development cycle. So we're definitely thinking about what's next and how the floor can really have a dialogue with each other to create that sense of safety that we need, and then also those spatial cues that the floor can help provide.
So obviously, you know, you guys are doing great things in terms of the designs and really servicing the needs of the design community. But I know that as a brand, you know what Natalie and I spoke about earlier is that you really think about the greater community at large and the world at large. And, you know, something that's really going to come out of the fact that we're not at NeoCon right now. And, you know, that really is impacting the city of Chicago. And I know that you guys have a mission of giving back. And Natalie, it was really great to hear about this program.
Thanks, Helene. Yes, it is so unusual because I think all three of us are used to seeing each other in Chicago this time of year. We're so glad to have you here at the Create Center with us, but sadly we are not in Chicago, and the impact of not having NeoCon on the city is something that really weighed on us as a team. And what could we do to give back, because that is a part of our community, just like Cartersville, Georgia is. We're so closely connected to the merchandise mart and to being in that city, and we've got a great sales team there. So what we've chosen to do is, you just heard Reesie talk about shifting fields, and that's one of the collections that we're launching now. So we thought we would take a portion of the proceeds of the Shifting Fields collection from now until next June, when hopefully we are back together as a community in Chicago, and make a donation. We're partnering with a Chicago nonprofit that is really meeting the needs of those impacted by COVID-19. I was talking with them earlier, and their increase, they've seen a 70% increase in need just since January. So the need is very real. Food insecurity, people struggling to make ends meet. So we're delighted to be able to do that and find a way to do some good to the Chicago community right now.
No, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, as a brand, you're certainly delivering solutions, whether it's to the design community, to the greater community, and the fact that, you know, once again, you guys are making an impact, and there's a lot of power to that, and, you know, certainly respect everything that you do. And I really would love to thank you both for being on today and to really talk about, obviously, your Create Center, what you're doing in Cartersville, how you guys are launching Reesie, you know, the really inspiration behind some of these great lines that you guys are introducing. And of course, to our greater audience, definitely check out Shop Contract, check out, you know, Shifting Fields and some of the other lines so that you can also help give back to Chicago. So thank you guys.